Welcome to Art Talk with April. I'm April Harris. I'm the artist of Ink April, located in Birmingham, Alabama. And this podcast is going to be about all things art. We'll talk about books, invite some artists to interviews, and much, much more. Let's get started.
So why in the heck start a podcast? Why in the heck would anyone with my past year and my life and 2 small children and a full-time job and a really, really fun, very time-consuming hobby and interest take up podcasting? Well, there's a story behind it. So I'm not just podcasting to become internet famous or something like that. I'm actually doing podcasting and videos and that kind of media content for my day job. And so I saw it as an opportunity to not only expand my experience and, learn more about editing and the process and that kind of thing, but really to create community with other artists. And I'm talking about artists all over the place. Like a lot of the people that are going to be on the podcast, especially in the beginning, are going to be people that are local to me. And that's just because those are people that I've already connected with, and they know me enough to be able to say, okay, yeah, I want to talk to her about it. Because, whenever I'm in any social engagement or party or get together, I'm really quite introverted. I'm not someone who just starts conversation about whatever, I don't keep up with the news. I don't keep up with new movies. I don't listen to a lot of new music or, I don't know. I can't even remember the names of bands most time that I even like. So, but one of the subjects that I genuinely get excited about and just cannot stop talking about or learning about or, I don't know. I just consume it constantly. Like if you go onto my social media, like on my phone, and we're going to go into my Facebook app or to go into my Instagram app, all you're going to see is art stuff, art, crafts, do it yourself, making things, building things, creating things. And it spans the entire gamut of modern art, pop art, lowbrow surrealism, decorative crafts, watercolors, sculpture. You name it, I'm into it, right? And so I thought, you know what? I could really do something like this. I am actually connected to a lot of artists, not only locally, but online through social media. I've been doing it for a long time. I talk with people, I message people, I've reached out to people for years and years and years. And I thought, I really want to know more. Like, I want to know more about these people, and I want to know what their experience was as they, grew up, and, maybe they didn't start in art. Maybe they became an artist later in life. Maybe, like me, they knew they were an artist from the beginning. They were loving, drawing and coloring since kindergarten or, daycare or whatever, which a lot of people do. So, but, a lot of times we hear the same stories, the same sort of, I grew up, I went to school, and these are the stories that we in our communities, we believe, we pass them on. There's a lot of starving artist sort of stories. A lot of people in my own circle don't necessarily know that there are successful artists out there. It's like they're not real people. Or they think that you have to be in like MoMA or some huge art museum and in magazines and, collected and making millions to be what we would call a successful artist. But as an artist who's been a graphic designer or website designer, doing video production and podcasting and illustration, and I've done all of these things, I know that that's not the truth. I know that there are so many ways to be creative and express that creativity without this one path that everyone thinks that will, what is it that you're wanting? Are you wanting to be famous? For me to, start a podcast or to start a YouTube channel, or what, you wanting to be YouTube famous? Or you wanting to be a podcaster now? I mean, like, what's going on there? It's not about some sort of ego trip or anything, because I'm not a talkative person. I'm not a, hey, look at me kind of person. It's really about a love of art, a complete and total love of it. And I love the people too, because a lot of times the people who become artists, they really have to fight against a lot of the stories that we tell ourselves. They really have to push this big, giant boulder of lies and stories that generations have been told for years and years up this hill in order to accomplish this thing. Now, one thing that I've come across is people who grew up in artistic households and artistic communities. And that changes the game, because those people aren't told that it's impossible. Those people see the possibilities around them, and they know that it's, just like any other career, there are different ways to do it, different ways to go about it, and there's just a huge spectrum of possibilities. I mean, it can be a hobby, but it's not either you're famous or you have a hobby. It's not necessarily one or the other. There are people who make a regular living just being an artist, doing their thing. And in today's age, one way for us to actually take advantage of being born now, being born in this age of the internet and its beginnings, really, it's the beginning. We have such an opportunity as artists that other artists in other centuries at other times never, ever had. It was a struggle to be in these art shows, that you had to enter in and get your foot in the door. And they were such, pardon my French, assholes about it. And so that's why I embrace the internet, and I embrace social media, and I'm embracing YouTube, and I'm going to embrace this podcasting thing and Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. And yeah, it can be a bad medium, but I really think it's a tool. It's a tool for us as artists to share our work. Who cares if you're making $1 million off of it? Who cares if you're famous or not? Sharing your work has been one of the hardest things for artists to do until now. And so I'm really excited to start this podcast. I cannot wait to get into some of these subjects, talk about books, talk about people's journeys. And I'm even planning on bringing my son into it, who is 6 years old, who absolutely loves to draw and thinks it's the best thing ever. He is so funny. I cannot wait to share this stuff with you guys. And I hope that by talking with people from, people who are full-time professionals to newbies or students, that you get really excited about it too. So thanks for joining.
Thank you for listening to Art Talk with April. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe.